Year's Guitar Lessons here, and today I'm going to be talking about incorporating triads over Mixolydian jams or dominant 7 chords. Now my example today is going to be in the key of A7, and now the triad we're going to be shooting for is going to be a whole step below it and a major triad. So if I was in the key of C, I would want to shoot for a B flat triad. Or if I was playing C7, I'd want to shoot for B flat major, or if I was in E7, I'd want to shoot for a D major. So the triads I'm going to be using are going to be this one, kind of based off my E shape right there, and kind of like a D shape, kind of like the top half of my A chord on the first 3 strings, and then I can repeat the first one up an octave. Or I'm also going to be using the 2nd through 4th strings, so those first couple were on the 1st through 3rd strings. Now I'm also going to be using 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, so 2nd through 4th string triads, again, from the E shape. Kind of like the extension of our, kind of like the middle of our C shape right there, and then our A shape right there, just those middle 3. So for my example today, I'm going to be using my E shape arpeggio, or my E shape scale, Mixolydian scale, or I'm going to be using my A alt shape arpeggio, or scale. The goal here is, instead of licks, I'm just going to be walking up the arpeggio, going through the triad, just to kind of get it under our fingers and see how we can walk into it and out of it. Anyways, here's my first example. So here I'm starting on the 3rd of my arpeggio, the 6th fret 3rd string, walking up the rest of the arpeggio, or 4 notes of it, and then I'm going to be going to this D-shaped G triad right there, and then ending it right where I started. Now again, we don't always have to end right where we start. It's just kind of a good way to get it under our fingers. Now the reason why we're choosing the G triad right there is we're getting the 9th, the flat 7, and the 11 of the chord right there. So it kind of gets us out of our normal arpeggio, but still kind of in the upper part of that of those extensions right there. So it kind of gives us a really neat sound over it. My second example, I'm going to be starting out on the flat 7 of my A7 arpeggio. I'm going to be going 5th fret, 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, and now my next note is going to be the flat 7, and it's also going to be kind of my bridge to this G triad right here. Here I am on the 2nd through 4th string, 8th, 7th, 9th, I'm going to end on that root right there. Now the third example, I'm finding a different G triad. I'm going to be kind of going back to this 6-string sort of E-shaped triad right there. Walking up, starting out at the exact same place that I started before. 6th fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, 5th fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go back to this triad. 1, and then go back right to where I started again. And just like before, I'm going to start out on the 5th fret on that flat 7 of my A7, walk up that arpeggio. Now this time I'm going to be aiming for this triad right there. Again, kind of that middle part of our E shape right there. And ending on the root right there. So next I'm going to be moving up to my A shape. Here I'm going to be starting on the flat 7 of my arpeggio, the 12th fret on the 3rd string, walking up the arpeggio, 4 notes, going up to this high G triad right here. So again, I'm almost thinking the same E shape that I was thinking about down here. Now I'm going to descend that triad, and then end on the 3rd of that arpeggio right there. Next, I'm going to be envisioning this middle part of the G triad, or of that E shape, all the way up here, and while it was below, kind of more towards the nut of my E shape, now it's going to be above the A shape right there. So I'm starting on the 14th fret, 4th string, 4 notes of the arpeggio, and look at, I'm right next to that triad right there. Walk down that arpeggio, or that triad, 15th, 16th, 17th, over to that root note of my arpeggio. Now next I'm going to start on the flat 7 again, 12th fret on the 3rd string, walk up the arpeggio. Now I'm going to descend to this bottom half of that almost A shape of the G. So 10th, 12th, 12th, and then go back up to the root note right there. Next triad I'm going to be aiming for is the middle part of that A right there. I'm going to be starting on the 3rd of my arpeggio, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now once I'm 4 notes up the arpeggio, I'm going right to that triad, ending on that 3rd right there. Now I'm going to move back to the E shape, but this time we're going to be talking about scales. I'm going to be starting out on the 5th fret, 2nd string, walking up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to be aiming for this triad right here, down that D shape right there, and then end on that 3rd right there. Next, I'm going to be aiming for this middle part of our C-shaped triad right here, my 2nd root triad right there, on the 2nd to 4th string, walking up the scale. This time I'm going to start from the 3rd of the chord right there, but walk up the scale, 6th fret on the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here I am at that triad, the first note of that triad, walk down that triad, and then be ending on the root right there. Next, I'm going to be aiming for the triads before my E shape, my A7. So it's going to be this triad, my 1st finger on the 3rd fret, 1st and 2nd, 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and then kind of the next part of that, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and that middle part of that G shape. All right, so here's. So I'm walking up the scale from the 5th fret, get right there, and then I'm going to go back to that triad right there, and then up to end on that 3rd right there. Next, I'm going to go from the 4th fret on the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to the 5th fret on the 2nd string, and then go backwards to this sort of F-shaped triad, up, and on the root right there. Now I'm going to move up to the A shape. I'm going to start here on the 14th fret on the 2nd string, walk up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and here I am, all the way up at this triad right here. Walk down that, and then end on that 3rd, kind of right where I started right there. Again, the point of these are to help kind of, here's my scale, or here's my arpeggio, and then here's the triad. A way to kind of implement it into kind of our scale runs, our lines, our ideas. Next, I'm going to be aiming for that F shape again, but this time I'm going to be starting from the 12th fret on the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here I am, and now I'm right at this arpeggio, right back to the root. Not arpeggio, triad right there. Next set of triads I'm going to be looking for is kind of based off my A shape for the G. So this is going to be before my A shape for the A. So here I'm starting on the 12th fret, 2nd string, walking up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, go back to this triad, again envisioning that A shape for my G chord, and then walk up and end on the root. Next, I'm going to start on the 14th fret on the 4th string, walk up the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, aim for the middle part of that A shape for my G, 1, 2, 3, descend that right there, and then end on the 3rd. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave me any questions or comments in the comment section below. Check out GarrettsGuitarLessons.com for PDF of all these ideas, charts of the arpeggios and triads right there, and even backing tracks to help implement these into your playing. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys next time.